We're live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. In Kumasi, we are on Love 99.5 FM. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, we are on Amenuveve FM in Apawu, Ganga FM in Drapa, Radio Max in Takrade, and KTU Radio in Koforidua. We're live on X Spaces. We're on Facebook. We're on myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrol Sol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrol Sol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duro Plus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. We're the only water storage tank with a level indicator. Where Duro Plus goes, water always flows. This afternoon, experts cast doubt over Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia's promise to reverse the controversial electronic transfer levy and other tax measures if elected as the next president of Ghana, as they point to IMF conditionalities as the major constraints on tax cuts.
Program would not have been ended, so you would not cut down on revenue for the government. So the implication is that, number one, it will not fit into the IMF program.
We'll hear from the NDC flag bearer John Mahama, who's meanwhile jabbed the vice president, alleging Dr. Bawumia is attempting to exonerate himself from what he calls the economic mess.
It is you, by your mismanagement, your clueless finance minister, and your clueless head of economic management team, who now wants to run away from economic issues. It is they who have created this mess.
We'll also hear from minority MPs in Parliament describing it as an honest attempt to whitewash himself from the mess of the current government.
If your driver or your boss is driving us into a ditch and you have superior knowledge and you fail to give this superior knowledge and allow your boss to drive 33 million Ghanaians into a ditch, what a wicked mate that person is.
We'll take you to the streets of Accra, where some Ghanaians say politicians should be held to account for their campaign promises.
We've had evidences that politicians, they speak, and when they come into office, they do different things. So if we can hold him to what he's saying, because the tax burden to me is too much. It's too much on the ordinary Ghanaians.
Also this afternoon, organised labour to proceed with massive February 13 demonstration against government despite a suspension of the 15% VAT on electricity for non-lifeline consumers.
Organised labour is likely to meet tomorrow if we receive a letter from the Ministry of Finance withdrawing the 15%. And until we receive that letter, we are resolved on the path we want to take in the demonstration.
We have details shortly. We'll also tell you how authorities plan to ensure urban schools in Osu become safer havens, free from the grip of air pollutants.
Start with a pilot project, select one school, and see if we can create a safe space for kids to play, removed from air pollution.
We have sports.
Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia vows to transform the sports sector if elected president.
And Vows Day is a week away, and Ghanaians prepare for the Day of Love. The Cybersecurity Authority is asking celebrants to be cautious as it reveals in excess of 3.5 million Ghana cedis was lost through online shopping and romance scams last year alone. Stay woke. We have details of that and more here on the Midday News. I am Emefa Apawu. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Please do stay on for details. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's dig in, and there are emergent concerns that it will be next to impossible for Dr. Mahama Bawumia to reverse some major tax policies currently under implementation if he wins the 2024 general elections to become president of the Republic of Ghana. In his address outlining his vision as the presidential candidate of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Bawumia says there will be a new approach to governance, including some major reforms that will see the repeal of the electronic transfer levy and also a halt on all charges on digital transactions. However, some experts say Ghana's bailout program with the International Monetary Fund will make it difficult for such a policy measure to be achieved. There's more in this report.
The auditorium of the University of Professional Studies Accra was filled to capacity as Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia delivered what he described as the bold solutions for the future. Key on the agenda is the promise to cut down on government expenditure and to eliminate some taxes.
Ladies and gentlemen, to move towards a cashless economy, however, we have to encourage the population to use electronic channels of payment. To accomplish this, under my administration, there will be no taxes on digital payments. The e-levy will therefore be abolished.
Even before he passes the test of the 2024 general elections, some experts are already raising doubts about these tax measures. Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, says his doubts are born out of Ghana's bailout program with the International Monetary Fund.
The economic management team led by Bawumia, after scanning through the economy, has recommended e-levy, has recommended electricity, VAT on electricity, has recommended the numerous taxes that we have in a bid to fit into the IMF program to raise revenue. The IMF program is a 3-year program. By the time that he's talking about the IMF program will not have been ended. So you will not cut down on revenue for the government. So the implication is that, number one, it will not fit into the IMF program. So what it means is that if you remove tax on VAT on electricity, you must necessarily replace it with another revenue source. So that is the difficulty that Dr. Bawumia faces. But his eye is on the election.
As the head of the economic management team, Dr. Mahama Bawumia has been criticized as to why he's unable to effect these policy changes while serving in the Akufo-Addo administration. Information Minister Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah is responding to critics, saying the ultimate policy decisions lie in the hands of the president.
What Dr. Bawumia is saying is that if you give me the mandate for 2025, I will differently. And he starts off by talking about the expenditure cuts. Why? So that he can create that kind of fiscal space. He's cutting down the number of ministers to not more than 50, including regional and deputy ministers. Because of that, the fiscal program that he puts forward in 2025, which is beginning to signal, is what determines his ability to say, I will not need to have this tax, I will not need to have this levy, because I don't need to have these expenditures at the bottom.
In the end, Ghanaians will decide as to whether or not they'll give the nod to Dr. Mahama Bawumia to run Ghana into its next chapter. Some members of the general public have been sharing their thoughts on Dr. Mahama Bawumia's address with Joy News.
In terms of the taxes, I want to believe that he's going to stick to what he's saying, but we've had evidences that politicians, they speak, and when they come into office, they do different things. So if we can hold him to what he's saying, because the tax burden to me is too much. It's too much on the ordinary Ghanaians.
It's a very good idea if he says he's going to scrape off the taxes when it comes to power. But one question is, why can't he do it now?
Well, that's a news desk report there. I'll take you to Parliament now, where there have been reactions also pouring in from MPs and the minority. We'll also hear from the former president, John Dramani Mahama, who's also been casting doubts about the comments made by the vice president. Well, meanwhile, political marketing expert Kobe Mensah says Dr. Mahama Bawumia's party, which is currently in power, has not demonstrated a posture that indicates its willingness to cut back on government expenditure when it wins the next election.
But I think that he might have been successful in exciting the base, but he failed to actually convince Ghanaians. If you look at Bawumia's, criticisms that has actually affected his brand, people continuously say that he hasn't been straightforward with Ghanaians in respect to the promises that he gave Ghanaians, leading to 2016 election. People have criticized him for staying quiet and not demonstrating a difference between him, his principles, and the things that he believes in.
Well, there have been reactions also coming in from Parliament. My colleague and Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kwekwa Santi, joins us on the line with more on what MPs have been saying, but we can hear from some of them.
The fact that Dr. Bawumia is distancing himself from the management of the economy is an admission that Dr. Bawumia, President Akufo-Addo's government has failed. Because why? One would expect him to be saying that this is what we have done, this has been our achievement. So the fact that he's trying to distance himself is telling everybody that we are admitting that we have failed.
Not once has he ever denied the claims that he's an integral part of the policy decisions of this government. And so for him to shamelessly come out at this time to project himself as one who is not to be held responsible for some of the failures of this government, but one deserving of credit for some of the things that are seemingly positive of this government, can only be a mark of excuse my language. And I think that it is shameful. It takes politics to a new low.
So all of this economic policy President Akufo-Addo has implemented since 2017 were actually supervised by our Vice President. And it should be noted, his position has further been strengthened because he's now the leader of the NPP, the governing NPP, in fact, the governing party of the Republic of Ghana. He's their flag bearer and the leader of the party. So if he means well, he has whatever it takes to bring a bill to Parliament to get these taxes removed now. What we are asking him to do is simple. The NDC currently opposes all these taxes he has talked about. In fact, we have opposed it here in Parliament. We've opposed it in public. Our flag bearer, His Excellency President Mahama, has made public pronouncement that when given the power, will remove it.
Well, you heard there the minority leader, Dr. Kaisa Lato, forcing also earlier Tamale North and Tamale Central MPs Al-Hassan Suhini and Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, while the former president himself, John Dramani Mahama, meanwhile says no member of the NPP administration can be exonerated from Ghana's present economic challenges. Already, the NDC flag bearer says he's sensing a deliberate attempt by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia to shy away from his role in the management of the economy. He's been speaking at a town hall meeting in Tamale as part of his Building Ghana tour.
Now all those who contributed to the mess are trying to run away as if they were not part of it. People have begun saying, oh, they were not in charge, they were not listening to them and all that. All of them, they inside. Jack Toronto and all his small brothers, all of them are part of the mess that we're going through. None of them can escape responsibility, none of them. Because they've all been a part of this. They all sat in cabinet together. They all took those decisions together. Anytime they were going to borrow from the Eurobond market, they approved it in cabinet. They sat in cabinet and approved it. In 6 years, you went and borrowed $13.5 billion, and you did nothing with it. So today you can't come and tell us you were not part of it. All of them are part of the mess in which we find ourselves. And Ghanaians are going to send them packing for the hardship that they've inflicted on us.
That's former President John Dramani Mahama. Well, the Information Minister Kojo Ponkruma was on the Joy SMS this morning and has been responding to questions about why some of the visions outlined by the flag bearer of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, cannot be implemented now.
For many Ghanaians, they ask a very simple question. Why now? You've been in government. Why are you telling us what you want to do? Particularly when some of the things you want to do amounts to reversing current decisions. Why are you not implementing the very things you talk about?
Well, Winston, first, I think it's a very legitimate question. And that question can clearly be answered because of Article 58 of the Constitution 1992. There are many people in government. There are ministers, deputy ministers, there's a vice president, there are advisors, chief executives, board chairpersons. But if you read Article 58 of the Constitution 1992, it says clearly that the executive power in this country rests with the president. And that is why when somebody wants to run for president, he is required to articulate his vision. He is put on the ballot. And when he is elected, he or she, he will form a government comprising various people to assist him to execute his vision. It is a reason for which you would find that when President Mills passed on, though he had a vice president in the person of then Vice President John Mahama, after President Mills passed on, President Mahama had to hold what he called his policy address. I was then in your seat right now. He held it at the Accra International Conference Center to outline his vision. Why now? It's because he was now under Article 58. He was now the president. He had to therefore articulate his vision. Dr. Bawumia has been Vice President of the Republic since 2017, Chair of the Economic Management Team, Member of Cabinet, and over the period he has participated in the work of this administration. But having won the flag bearership slot of the New Patriotic Party, he now has to articulate his vision.
That's the Information Minister Kojo Oponkruma. One key thing that came up was also on the National Service Scheme, and the former boss of the scheme, Dr. Michael Pesa-White, has questioned Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's vision to review the National Service Scheme from the current mandatory service to a voluntary one. Addressing the nation on his vision for the country if elected, Dr. Bawumia explained that this review will enable companies to hire students directly from the school, as it was in the olden days. But Dr. Pesa-White believes the vision is needless. We can hear from this. It's a news desk report here.
To help our youth get jobs, I believe it is time to rethink the concept of the current National Service Scheme.
The Ghana National Service Scheme started in 1973 under Act 426. Among a number of aims, the scheme is to encourage the spirit of national service among all segments of the Ghanaian society and undertake projects designed to combat hunger, illiteracy, disease and unemployment. According to the Act, the scheme is compulsory for any person who is a citizen of Ghana and has attained the age of 18 years or more. But the presidential candidate of the NPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, as part of his vision, says he will no longer make the service mandatory if he becomes president.
My government will propose that those who, after completion of their education, can secure jobs will be exempted from national service.
But these are your thoughts on this particular vision.
I believe that is national service is something that you do to sort of say thank you to the country for helping you to go through the school. So I believe it's compulsory.
Not making it compulsory, others are not going to take it serious. Yeah, that is the issue. Because the youth of today, normally when you don't force them to do something or push them to do something, they just do it anyhow and just let it go. So it not being compulsory, that is not going to help the youth of today.
The national service, I disagree, because the nation invests in our youth through education. So when you finish school, you are supposed to contribute somehow towards the development of the country through the national service scheme. So I don't agree with him.
Well, some of your views there on the National Service Scheme will change from being mandatory to a voluntary one. And we've been hearing also from Dr. Michael Pesa-White, who's been questioning this particular move by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll get to hear him subsequently. But away from this particular story, on to some other issues. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has summoned 5 traders over air pollution and insanitary offences. The 5 persons, mostly fish smokers in Choco, were directed to appear before the Assembly during the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's Clean Ghana campaign monitoring exercise. The team also discovered that most fish smokers in the Choco area have been operating without medical certificates. There's more in this report.
Although fish smokers play a major role in putting food on the table of many, the poor sanitary conditions surrounding the operation have come under serious concern. Their activities have also come under criticism as a major cause of air pollution in the city. According to a recent IQ Air Index, Accra has earned the unenviable position as one of the cities with the poorest air quality globally. Launching the 2024 edition of the Clean Ghana campaign in Accra, Metro Health Director of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, Florence Kuchi, said this year's campaign will focus on activities polluting the air.
This 2024, one of the major things we'll be doing much is going to be on sensitization and some mitigation measures on air pollution.
The team kicked start its monitoring exercise with a visit to some fish smoking sites in Choco to assess the sanitation situations in the area. Florence Kuchi said the assembly will in the coming days organize a training program for traders to help address the situation.
There's going to be training for these fish processors on hygienic content, on how to handle their environment, even how to handle the fish before and after processing, the kind of water they should use, even how to display it in the market.
At the end of the monitoring exercise, 5 persons have been summoned to appear before the assembly over various sanitary offences. Kwesi Adai Kwarten's report for Joy News.
Well, still on issues relating to the environment, in the coming months, schools in Osu are in for a positive transformation aimed at reducing air pollution in their surroundings and creating safer spaces for children. City engineers currently undergoing innovative training to rethink and reshape road construction methods are at the forefront of this initiative. The ultimate goal is to strategically redesign these roads, minimizing exposure to harmful air pollutants and fostering environments that allow children and neighborhoods to thrive in safety and well-being. Beat reporter Michael Lashali has more in the following report.
Air pollution is the second biggest threat to health in Ghana. Exhaust fumes from the transport sector alone is responsible for almost half of Accra's particulate concentrations. The city of Accra is one of the most heavily polluted places in the country. The WHO estimates that more than 28,000 Ghanaians die prematurely every year as a result of air pollution. Children in urban schools often endure the adverse effects of vehicle fumes. Headmaster of Osu Salem School, Emmanuel Taki, knows this very well.
Because the school, because it's not walled, you always find children crossing to get food and all those things. So one, the safety of the children are priority as a educator. So the school is very close to the road, and sometimes or usually you find road cars parking in the school and around the school area.
For stakeholders, their interest is to move from pollution to solution.
I think for now, let's look at these 6 strategies and see which one that we can implement here.
City engineers and technocrats pulled from some of the municipal assemblies in the streets of Accra as members of a workshop organized by Clean Air Fund and Global Designing Cities Initiative.
That's my colleague Michael Ashali's report. This story was in collaboration with the New Narratives. Funding was provided by the Clean Air Fund. The funder had no say in the content of the story. And we'll take a quick break here on the Midday News, live on Joy 99.7 FM, also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrol Sol. Your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrol Sol is always a delightful experience. Also brought to you by Duroplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC and HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duroplus goes, water always flows. We return from the break with sport and organized labor to proceed with massive February 13 demonstration against government despite a suspension of the 15% VAT on electricity for non-lifeline consumers.
It's likely to meet tomorrow if we receive a letter from the Ministry of Finance withdrawing the 15%. And until we receive that letter, we are resolved on the path we want to take in the demonstration.
And then also much later, Val's Day is less than a week away, and as Ghanaians prepare for the day, the cybersecurity authorities asking celebrants to be cautious as it reveals in excess of 3.5 million Ghana cedis was lost through online shopping and romance fraud scams last year. We're right back after the break.
When budgets are tight and money difficult to come by, you want to be sure you get the best value for your money. These are not times to be spending money fixing expensive engine problems because of cheap fuel and lubricants. Drive to a Petrosol station today and buy your quality fuel and lubricants, and rest assured of fuel that lasts long and lubricants that prevent expensive engine problems. Hear the sound. Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Let's do sports. Mubarak.
Yep, Emefa. So the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has shared his vision for transforming Ghana into a hub for emerging sports. If elected president, the MPP flag bearer expressed commitment to fully realizing the potential of the sector as well as addressing the financial challenges.
My government will therefore prioritize the creation of incentives for corporate sponsorship as a sustainable module of financing sports development and promotion of our national teams, including football, athletics, boxing at all levels. This will take the financial pressure off government and also enable government to redirect more support to other sports disciplines. We'll establish the Ghana Sports Secretariat, which will be an agency under the ministry responsible for sports. My government will also seek school-level collaboration with international sports bodies like the NBA to make Ghana a hub for these emerging sports in Africa. to create more opportunities for our young people.
Well, that is the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
And Nigeria was shining.
Yes, they are through to the final.
Flying.
Yes, they'll face the Elephants of Ivory Coast on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Mubarak. Now, government suspension of the 15% VAT on electricity for non-lifeline consumers could not convince organised labour to stay their demonstration on February 13. The unions are proceeding with a massive march across all 16 regions with discussions ongoing with the police for protection. The unions say apart from government failing to scrap the VAT outright, it fails to address broader taxes burdening the populace. But the Finance Ministry believes a suspension of the tax and further engagement with stakeholders will provide way forward. Let's listen to the Information Minister, Kojo Ponkroma.
If you read the Finance Ministry statement, it says in that same statement that they are suspending implementation and they are going to do some further consultations, and they expect that those consultations will yield other measures that they can achieve the same fiscal, program that they have put in place. So it's not a fait accompli that they have suspended it and that's the end of the matter. They are going to have to find a way to answer that question. President Akufo-Addo's government has to find a way to answer that question, and the Finance Minister, who is responsible for fiscal policy, having put out that statement, even included that in the statement.
But Labour remains steadfast in their demand for a cancellation of the tax outright. Vice President of the Trades Union Congress, CUC, Ken Kodia, spoke on the news desk.
We are yet to receive an official letter from the Ministry of Finance withdrawing their position. We are hopeful that before close of day today, maybe they will release a letter to us. But as of now, we don't have any such confirmation. Organized Labour is very resolved that anything that will bring hardship or tend to affect the living condition of the worker or the Ghanaian populace in general, we will object it. There are other ways that government can raise money to supplement the budget, but not forms that will bring hardship to the poor worker. Organized Labour is likely to meet tomorrow if we receive a letter from the Ministry of Finance withdrawing the 15%. And until we receive that letter, we are resolved on the path we want to take in the demonstration. Like I said, I'm hoping that letter will come today. But we are resolved. The appetite for strike is very ripe. And we don't want to go that path. We want to engage and resolve all the issues pending.
Well, that's Ken Kodia, is Vice President of TUC. Now, in some 6 days, it will be Valentine's Day, and many Ghanaians are already preparing to show their love and affection for special persons in their lives. But did you know that at such a moment of joy, that's when some people also fall prey to scams? The Cybersecurity Authority says more than 3.5 million Ghana cedis was lost to romance scams and online shopping late last year alone. And they are asking the public to be cautious as they prepare for the celebration next week. We have details of that statement, and my colleague, Joy News editor Fred Smith, joins me in studio. You're ready for Valentine's Day?
Yes, we are, and they're saying that the modus operandi of those who operate these scams, they use shopping fraud, brand impersonation, phishing scams, and the interesting one, romance scam. Malicious actors create fake online profiles to deceive victims into believing that they're engaging in a trusting relationship. Then they use the relationship to persuade the victims to send money, provide personal and financial information, or purchase items for them. And you fall prey to it if you are not diligent enough in that. And those who are using shopping fraud, they create fake websites or use clones of online shops, existing online shops, and offer heavily discounted items. And so you just have to be careful.
But this is not an excuse not to give me a Valentine's Day present. I'll show you the shop to go and walk in and buy it. Well, it's time for M&J on the Midday News, and Jackie is here. What's trending? What are the things that are trending on social media today? I know there's a lot.
You know, every day social media is hot, but today is blazing.
It's hotter.
It's hotter. You know, so this comes after the vice president is trending, and this comes after the vice president said that he was a driver's mate, but if you vote for him, he would take the driver's seat. So a lot of people have been commenting on that, but here are a few comments. So someone says that not all mates become drivers. Some stop to sell coins at the bus stop. And someone just made this analysis. Car owner employs a driver. Driver chooses mate to work for him. The driver along his duties drives recklessly. Mate keeps mute, finds no need to step down. The mate's only interest is the payday check. So people have been expressing their opinions on that. But you know, yesterday he talked about the fact that he intends on creating digital platforms and streaming platforms for artists. And we have the president of the Foundation of Concerned Arts Professionals reacting to this.
Dr. Baumia has lost track, and he has lost maybe, yes, I could say he has lost track with all the things that his own party or he himself had said. He has nothing to offer per what I have seen and my reaction, on whatever he said on the creative art. He has nothing to offer the creative art sector, and it's appalling, and it is not something that FOCAP will want to really accept it. So for me, if you ask me, that is my overall reaction.
Well, just as you heard from him, so they are trying to say that when it comes to the promises that he's making to the creative art industry, they don't accept it. But he's still trending because he also posted excerpts of his speech from yesterday, and netizens are using that to ask him a lot of questions. So he's still in the trends today.
Jackie, have a good day. And that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Midday News. I am Emefa. Apawu Living Word with Pastor Mensa Otable is up next episode. With wisdom